Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro Magazines. And this time I'm going to be looking through Arcane Magazine Issue 1. Now this came out in December 1995 and was very much a change in the way role-playing games magazines were published. Because up until this point, they had been very heavily based around articles which were adventures or stats for role-playing games. And they were very much black and white publications. They would have some colour pages, but that would tend to be the adverts more than anything else. Now, Arcane Magazine's full colour throughout, absolutely gorgeous to look through, showing off everything absolutely brilliantly. And it's more about the role-playing hobby as a lifestyle. So it's talking about getting into role-playing, it's talking about the personalities behind it, interviews with the companies, and it only has a very little bit of building adventures and that side of things, although it does it in absolutely spectacular fashion, as we'll see when we look through the magazine. Now, as usual, I'll be sharing some of these articles with patrons of Librarian and Laird status. So if you'd like to see those and join in with conversation, then the Patreon's in the description down below. You can check that out, and you'll be helping the channel out, so it'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, let's have a look at Arcane Magazine Issue 1. So, this is Arcane Magazine Issue 1. As I said, it came out in December 1995, and it's from Future Publishing, who at the time were an absolutely massive publishing company. I don't know if they're still around, as I don't tend to buy magazines anymore. But at the time, they did all the video game magazines, and they were taking all that technology and applying it to role-playing in a way which we'd never really seen before. Because role-playing games had been published by much smaller press companies dedicated to role-playing, whereas this was a big publishing company addressing our hobby. Now, the quality of this oozes out as soon as you pick the magazine up, because this cover, you can't really see it on camera, but it's matte. It's not the glossy covers that most magazines use, and it feels almost velvety to the touch. It feels like a quality product as soon as you pick it up. Now, Arcane Magazine, unlike previous role-playing magazines, was also trying to address the entirety of the hobby. So while it says it's a role-playing magazine, it's basically covering all elements of gaming. So we've got Battletech in there, we've got collectible card games, we've got role-playing on the internet, we've got video games, we've got miniatures, we've got absolutely everything packed in here. So while it's calling itself a role-playing magazine, it's more a gaming magazine. Now, delving straight inside, we can see a double-page advert for Everway, Visionary Role-Playing by Alter Ego and Wizard of the Coast. Now, I do not remember this at all, I have to admit. This is a game I don't remember. It looks like a collectible card game, although there seem to be booklets as well as the cards. Who knows what it was? I don't remember this. If anybody remembers Everway, please let me know in the comments down below. It looks very nicely presented, but as I said, I have no memory of this. We've got the contents pages, very nicely presented, very glossy. An advert for Netherworld, 140 card expansion for Shadowfist from Daedalus Entertainment. Now, Daedalus Entertainment's the company that they're featuring in this issue, so we'll see a lot from them throughout. The introduction, the editorial from Stephen Farragher. We've got people who have contributed. We've got Lee Brimmicombe-wood, who is a name I definitely recognise, Paul Pettingale, James Wallace, some very big people from the industry who are involved in the publishing here. Continuing through, we start talking about collectible card games. So, Man the Barricades, next great American cultural assault in its way, and this time it's Magic. Because at the time, collectible card games were the big thing. They were outselling role-playing games absolutely massively, which is why Wizard of the Coast ended up taking over TSR just a few years later, because they had all that money. But absolutely everybody was getting into it. So we've got Marvel Overpower, Heresy Kingdom Come, Mythos, a Call of Cthulhu based one, Netrunner, Wizard of the Coast looks certain to succeed. We've got Shadowrun one, we've got Shadowfist, as we said, from Daedalus. We've got Spellfire, the TSR collectible card game. Just everybody was getting into CCGs, and it was the hot thing at the time. The Crow, Battle Lords, Middle-earth, The Wizards. So many of these games which are now forgotten. Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Wars Customizable. card game. Sim City, I seem to remember having a couple of those cards. I even recognise that one, but I have no idea what game it's from. Carrying on through, we've got Frop from Hogshead Publishing. Now, I vaguely remember this, but I don't have much memory. It's role-playing, but not really taking it very seriously, as much from Hogshead didn't. They were very much more about the fun aspects of role-playing games. But Frop is something lost in the years. I have no memories of this at all. Magic the Gathering booster set, Homelands. Then we're on to Virtual World. It's talking about the Trocadero Centre in London, where they had all the virtuality games. Games Workshop sued by angry American distributors. The years go past, but nothing changes. Virgin's increasing commitment to gamers. I talk about Hexen, a very nice fantasy version of Doom, as I seem to remember it. Mind-blowing Banemaster the Adventure, action-adventure collectible card game. In Nomine, a article on, or a section on Inphobia shutting down, the White Wolf magazine, which I covered one issue of a month or so back, talking about how they've stopped publishing White Wolf magazine, which had become Inphobia by its final issues. Bushido to be released for a new edition. What else we got here? Homelands, City Designer, Pro Fantasy Software. Well, Pro Fantasy Software were the people behind the Forgotten Realms map CD that I covered. So they were very much into this. And the maps look lovely and detailed. Riddle of the Runes, the Worlds of TSR screensaver. Various websites. I haven't checked out any of these still up. Wood Elf's RPG Index. I seem to remember going on that back in the day. Shadowland. Arcane on the World Wide Web. What we got here? Coming soon. Games Workshop releasing Codex Imperial Guard. I'm sure I've got a copy of that somewhere. Dragon Dice coming out. That was TSR's challenge to CCDs. That instead it would be collectible dice games. Dungeon Keeper. Then we've got an interview feature section on Daedalus games. We go through what they're planning, all the things that they're doing. Then we've got a section on Shadowfist, their collectible card game. Feng Shui, their role-playing game. Very nice stuff. I seem to remember it being very cool. Then we've got 15 minutes, the Arcane Guide to Role-Playing in Popular Culture. Talking about Wildest Dreams. It's a play about role-playing. The role-playing section at the start of E.T., where they're playing Dungeons and Dragons before they encounter him. Mazes and Monsters. Weezer mentioning gaming in one of their songs. I've got my Dungeon Master's Guide, I've got my 12-sided die. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons cartoon. Neil Young and Pearl Jam doing things. They play baseball, they play football under lights, they play card games, and we watch them every night. Okay, it's horribly tenuous, but we've been working very late. So, talking about role-playing being mentioned in popular culture. We've got a big article here on starting from scratch. You know, how to start making your game, how to create your game world. Brian Aldiss on world building. Different perspective. A very detailed article. And these were very good because these are speaking about role-playing on its more over level. You know, no matter what game you're creating, you have to think about the world you're playing in. So it's talking about that rather than specifying, oh, here's a village for Dungeons & Dragons that you can use. Out of the Closet, talking about the formation of role-playing games. Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson quotes. The Source, we've got various stuff you can buy. You know, Chessex Dice, still very popular to this day. Neckthongs, key writings and badges. Card boxes. T-shirts. Advert for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay from Hogshead at this point. And this is where Arcane did absolutely lovely work. Where I say they deal with role-playing more on a meta level, a higher level, talking about it as an industry. They did provide encounters. So we've got the laboratory here. Pull out and keep encounters. And talks about the laboratory, different rooms within it. He's describing a location, including absolutely gorgeous maps. Fantastic stuff. the basement, going through the entirety of the building. You know, the people you might encounter there. Next month, the Golden Dragon Inn. So it's detailing a location that you can just pull that out and use it in your modern day games if you want to include a laboratory. Fantastic stuff. Very nice indeed. The Fine Art of Cartomancy. Learning to play Magic the Gathering. So talking through that. Arcane Reviews. Obviously this is going to be a large chunk of the magazine. So we've got Everway, Necromunda, Dragon Dice, Vampire the Eternal Struggle, the collectible card game from Wizard of the Coast. Very nice stuff. Is the relaunch of Jihad. So Jihad had been the collectible card game from White Wolf in the Vampire the Masquerade universe, but they'd kind of handed it over to the masters, and Wizard of the Coast, who really knew everything about running CCG games. Time-wasting characters for AD&D, Chronomancers, Lost Trinity, Dungeon Master's Option high-level campaigns, reviews of the Complete Ninja's Handbook, Bane Master, Sword and Crown, Changeling the Dreaming, Birthright Players' Secrets, a big advert for Slay Industries there, Nightfall Games and Wizard of the Coast, including their address in Glasgow, but it's a P.O. box. I know Glasgow quite well. I was wondering if I knew where they were based out of when I saw that. Thunderscape, a PC role-playing game. Shadow Supplement Cyber Technology. I don't think I've covered that one for the channel yet. Various places where you can buy mail order. Heroes of Might and Magic, the Cairo sourcebook for Call of Cthulhu. Worm's Footprints for Gloranthan Adventures. Fairies, a sourcebook for Ars Magica. Skypoint and Vivine, Earthdawn supplement. Giant Craft. Just so much coming out at the time. Obviously, this is collecting probably lots of previous months. So we'll see if we cover future issues, whether there's as much coming out every single month, because this was a monthly magazine. Campaign Cartographer. What's coming next month? Great libraries. We're covering books, including comic books. So the Superman Doomsday was out this time, when Superman dies and comes back. Daughter of the Drow. Ravenloft book, Istrad, which I believe is one of the classics. Earthdawn, Shroud of Madness. A Magic the Gathering novel, or a couple of them actually. The Titan of Twilight. We've got reviews of different miniatures, so they're still metal ones at this point. Tyranids, Angels, Gordon's Highlanders for Flintlock, which I seem to remember being a fantastic fantasy Napoleonic type mashup. Absolutely great stuff. They look fabulous, I have to say. A letters page for everybody who wrote into them before they actually published a magazine. Lots of small ads, classified ads, a story, and an advert for Slay Industries, The Key of Deliriad, and the summer's hottest game, Dragon Dice, or at least TSR wished it was that summer's hottest game. Now, Arcane is a nice read. There's lots of handy stuff in here, and it's a lovely glimpse back into role-playing. But there's less in here that I would consider absolutely essential. I really like the laboratory section in it. That's very useful as an encounter you can throw into games, to have some maps and stuff immediately to hand. But that's the kind of material I like in a role-playing magazine. So I much preferred the old White Dwarfs, White Wolf magazines, challenge magazines, which gave you scenarios and stats and things you could use. Whereas this is really talking about role-playing from a much higher view of a look across the entire industry. But anyway, it's a great magazine and well worth a look through if you can get your hands on a copy. But, as usual, I've whittled on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching, as always. But most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.